Well, thank you, Barbara, for joining me today in this interview. You've been one of the most successful clients I've worked with, and I want to share your experiences with other people who might be considering doing neurofeedback. Tell me a little bit about your past, where you grew up, where you went to college, what you did as a professional in your career.
I grew up in Corvallis, Oregon, small town. At that time it was about 20,000 people, 85 miles south of Portland. I have two older brothers and a younger sister. In college I went up to Seattle to the University of Washington, and there I received my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I also have a master's degree in human resource management. For my career, I've done a number of things. I have definitely worked in the field of human resources. The last human resources job I had was a director of human resources at a nonprofit. Then later in my career, I switched to administration and education, worked for a couple of community colleges where I was the director of workforce education, basic skills, and English as a second language.
You came to me after reading The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. What interested you when you read his chapter on neurofeedback?
First of all, I want to say it was a fabulous book. I learned a lot from it. And it confirmed a lot of what I already thought, as well as educated me more on the workings of the brain and how trauma affects the brain. In later chapters, he talks about a variety of treatments, neurofeedback being one of them. And one of the things that impressed me in that is he was talking how neurofeedback leads to permanent changes in the brain to reverse the effects of trauma, and that appealed to me a lot. And there's a lot of research on neurofeedback that confirmed what he was also saying. So that's part of what led me into wanting to explore neurofeedback.
Describe some of your symptoms of PTSD that you began experiencing in August of 2020 when you began working with Kathy. What caused you to have PTSD?
Well, at the time I was going through depression, and I started having memories and flashbacks of certain events that had happened to me as a child, as well as more memories of some of my adult relationships. And they were disturbing to me, and I felt like I needed to explore those more in order to have a deeper understanding of them and how my history was impacting my current behavior.
Mm-hmm. Was that when the startle responses?
Yes, it is. The PTSD exhibited itself with exaggerated startle responses. And what those are is, it's like I would be sitting there and somebody would jump out and scare me and I would jump. So I would be jumping and be startled for no reason. I also started having nightmares. I couldn't sleep. I was averaging about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, so I was always tired. You know, I was jumpy, I was nervous. I also had a lot of anxiety and fear.
You mentioned driving over a bridge would cause a startle response.
Yes, that would definitely cause a startle response. Because I was feeling suicidal, I would ruminate on that and would be thinking of different ways I could commit suicide. And so one of those examples is I would be driving over a bridge and I would flash on driving off the bridge, and then I would scream and jump like I had actually done that.
Yeah. You described that you had what, 20 of these a day on average?
Yes, in the beginning there were some evenings where I might have had 50 of those. I could have 9 or 10 in an hour and be waking up multiple times. It would be like when I went to bed, as soon as my body would start to relax, I would have these startle responses. So my body was on hyper alert.
Yeah. So that was certainly something that was would benefit from treatment. By way of comparison, transcranial magnetic stimulation, they call it TMS, helped you to become less suicidal. What did neurofeedback do for you that TMS didn't?
Well, neurofeedback, my response to it, the effectiveness of it has been much quicker than the TMS. And it has accelerated my movement out of depression and literally into joy.
Yeah.
I don't feel depressed now. I'm happy. I wake up happy, which is really unusual for me. So that's a nice feeling. I'm more self-confident. I am more productive. I feel like getting out of bed more. I relate better to people, and I feel like I have a future now, whereas before I was filled with despair, no hope, and didn't see much of a future for me. So the neurofeedback is helping me create a life that is worth living.
Yeah. And you mentioned family and friends have noticed a difference.
Yes, just about anybody that knows me has noticed a difference, that I am more positive, more engaged with life, engaged with them. And one of my hopes actually is that I am setting a good example for my family. And I think neurofeedback is helping me achieve that goal.
Great, yeah. One side effect you experienced initially from the neurofeedback was disruption of your sleep. Has that resolved over the course of treatment?
Yes, it has. It's not only resolved, but it's virtually eliminated my insomnia, where I used to have 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. Now I'm averaging 7 hours of sleep a night, which is really the most that I've ever done in my life. Yeah.
That's great. You've mentioned that neurofeedback gave you back a sense of purpose and real joy. How would you describe how you feel now compared to how you felt when we began neurofeedback?
There's no comparison, really. You know, it's like you said, the TMS helped some with the depression, but now, without the depression and what neurofeedback has brought me, I'm a different person. I'm just a whole different person. I don't have the startle responses. I don't have the suicidal ideation. I look forward to things. It's kind of like when I started to where I am now. It's almost like comparing apples to oranges, because I am so different, and the feedback that I received from my therapist only confirms that. She's exceedingly happy with the progress that I've made through neurofeedback.
Yeah.
And
I'm so happy she referred you.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, I smile now. I laugh. I never used to do that.
Yeah.
My voice is more animated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's remarkable. When you think about where you were and now where you are, it's just...
It is a huge, yes, it's a blessing is what it is. Yeah, it is a blessing.
Well, good. So, the technical checklist we were using, the PHQ-9, which they use for TMS. When you initially started the TMS, I think it was 24?
24, it was almost at the top. 29 is at the top. So that was at severe, yeah, severe depression.
And by the time you finished, you had 36 sessions of TMS. I think it was down to 14 or 15.
Yeah, right in that range. I think 15 or 16. So more of a
moderately severe.
Correct.
And where would you say it is today?
0.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 2.
2.
You know, but it's, I think it's at 4 or 5 where that measure equates to no depression.
Right.
I'm in that range now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.